there was a piece by John Wilner of the Mercury News about scheduling and what the Big 12 now has access to. And I think the hallmark success of the realignment moves that Brett Yormark has made over the last couple of years in keeping the league together, getting enough teams, and then getting the four corner schools when the Pac-12 fell apart and Colorado first and all that sort of stuff, the time zone flexibility they have, the scheduling possibilities that they have, I think are wildly entertaining and can be really, really productive for the league, because there is something to be said that when I think of Beth Mowins as a play-by-play announcer, I think of her calling Big Ten games. Why? Because I grew up on the West Coast, and the 9 a.m. Pacific time game was just about always a Big Ten matchup. And the big noon kickoff was the biggest game that you would really watch in that time slot as well. And the idea of being able to go from 9 a.m. Pacific time to 11 p.m. Pacific time and have college football in your conference on all day, I think is really enticing. Am I nuts here?
No, but I don't think that's a new concept to the Big 12. I remember when I was a junior in college, and we'll go freshman year in college, Baylor plays Oklahoma on College game day at 7:30 Central Time, and I was watching at 11 a.m. TCU play Texas Tech. I mean, there has been wall-to-wall coverage of the Big 12 on a Saturday before. The intricacy here, and I know that you would agree, is that now you could do a Wednesday before Thanksgiving or Labor Day weekend, or the autonomy you have in building a schedule that's different than anything that college football has ever seen. The problem with that is I don't think it works. I'm simple. Most people are simple. We watch college football on Saturdays, unless there's that one rogue Florida State playing Georgia Tech on a Sunday in week 0, and then we'll all be like, hey, look, there's that one game on Sunday. The rest of the year,
I'm pretty sure that game is on a Saturday.
I'm saying, like, there's always that one random. I don't even know if
this year it's LSU and USC on Sunday, September 1st in Las Vegas, neutral site.
Sweet. There's always a Sunday where it's, hey, that one's kind of a fun one. Lincoln Riley's going to be there, and then there's the Black Friday games. There's the built-in days that we veer from the Saturday in college football, and the MAC, or there was Pac-12 after dark. How do we market things to be different schedule-wise? Now, is the Big 12 trying to replicate the MAC or Pac-12 after dark? I don't think so. However, our brains are very we're dialed into college football on Saturdays. You start putting Big 12 games on a Wednesday. You start putting Big 12 games on a Sunday. BYU will never do it. Utah will never do it. You start putting Big 12 games on a Monday. I don't think the world's going to stop to watch the Big 12. The world will stop to watch Georgia and Texas. The world will stop to watch Alabama and Auburn. The world will not stop to watch Texas Tech play Iowa State. I will. I'll watch it. The world will not if you put that game on a Tuesday. There is a sect of people that will do it. Yeah, but we're not going to drive the ratings. Nobody's going to see that and go, ooh, yep. We found it. Wednesday's the day that the Big 12 can land. I don't believe that's going to be a long-term solution for the Big 12 to become a power in college football, this autonomy and scheduling.
I don't think it's reshaping the Big 12 or their overall television ratings. I do think you can work to maximize your exposure. And the reason I brought up the scheduling element, because you make a good point that they've played in just about every time zone for a while now, but they could continue to expand that because presently the Eastern time zone or the Western time zone are not quite as explored. It's primarily a Central time zone conference because that's where its roots really go back to. But when I look at the idea of playing on a Labor Day or the Sunday before Labor Day, I think is what Wilner suggested, or the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, my suggestion or the ideas that Wilner's throwing around here are not that if Brett Yormark puts any sort of game there, it's going to suddenly draw 4 or 5 million people watching. It might be in the 1 to 2 million range, but you're going to have a window that nobody else has. And I think the mindset that they had when they added all these schools and incorporated all the new time zones was, we want to be as expansive, we want to be as aggressive as we can. I think that's very much lining up with what Brett Yormark has projected as commissioner of the Big 12 Conference for the last several years. And I just think that this is an opportunity that'd be fun. And look, maybe I'm just being a biased but neutral college football fan of, hey, if I don't have a college football game to watch on a given day of the week, can you give me one, please? I would rather have it there to watch than not. And if no one else is there, I think that's an opportunity that now, with more time zones in play, you have a little bit more flexibility to work with.
Yeah, the Pac-12 played the conference championship game on a Friday. You know, there have been
the hallmark game of your conference should not be on the day where people are dialed in elsewhere. But the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, for instance, what else are we dialed into?
Church. You know, I mean, it's that little stuff where Bible Belt.
That's a couple hours. You get out of church eventually.
Bible Belt Big 12, 7 to 8:30. Right now, we've cut into half a football game. Or, hey, my son's basketball game's on a Tuesday night. Or my son's football game's on a Friday night. That stuff is all wiped away on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. That is when we gather to watch the biggest games in college football. And for a lot of people, Saturday at noon, or that's when you pull your phone out. Again, I don't know if the Big 12 has a product right now that people are trying to pull their phones out for on a Tuesday night. I would go to Penland Dining Hall in college to watch Maction. My buddies would get together. We go to FanDuel.com. Count it. Thank you. We go to FanDuel.com.
Look at that right there. That's a sponsor plug. Love it.
And we would say, hey, wait a second. Tonight, we're getting a really big matchup between two MAC teams like Western Michigan and Eastern Michigan. We're going to go bet the house on the directional schools. And I just don't know. Yeah, Iowa State versus Cincinnati is going to draw more viewers, including the spittle there, than a MAC game. But it's not going to be monumental or groundbreaking here, in my opinion.
Well, here's the last point that I will make on this, because if you put a random game in there and you spit on the camera lens, people might not be inclined to tune in. That is the greatest thing that has happened in all your appearances here on the show.
Just wet my whistle and got a little too aggressive.
It's just
landed right
very
on the
passionate.
camera.
He's speaking passionately, folks. What else do you want from a college football commentator? But the other aspect of this is, I think it does matter what teams you put there. For example, let me just throw a hypothetical out there. Wednesday before Thanksgiving, people are getting off work early, as Wilner pointed out, because they're getting ready for the holiday weekend. They've got time off. They're coming home. It's not Thanksgiving yet, so you don't have any real commitments there. If Colorado is on TV, look, people might pass over West Virginia, Iowa State. You and I wouldn't, certainly. We would watch the game. We would come on and do a full reaction to the entire game, which is something we're going to be able to do in the near distant future. And I'm so thoroughly excited to talk about actual games. But if you put the right teams there, right? You said it earlier, no one's tuning in to watch the Big 12 on, a non-normal day. They're only going to tune in for these teams. Well, if you have a compelling team or a compelling storyline, I think people are going to tune in.
Yeah, it's just a matter of planning those storylines out, because Colorado, as you know, Colorado was the buzz for the first 3 weeks last year. By week 9, if I had done, Colorado, a Locked On Big 12 show, Colorado can win the Big 12 next year. I mean, it fizzled out. How do you then, as Brett Yormark, who's the PR guy, find that story that's going to captivate college football the entire year? Utah last year would have been that team for the Pac-12. Hey, they could go for 3 straight Pac-12 championships. They'll certainly be in the conversation with Cam Rising, and then the entire team gets hit by a bus, and they have 30 guys out injured. And
one of the craziest injury lineups I have ever seen.
Stunning. And then it becomes that Wednesday game that's, hey, Utah is playing against Washington State. And week 3, this seemed really cool. But by the time we got to Thanksgiving and we gave those guys a bye week last week, this is a Wednesday game, nobody really cares as much. Now, we'll watch it, sure, but the ratings aren't going to be enough to hold on to this. I just don't know if this is going to sit. We've seen conferences before, big and small, from the Pac-12 to the MAC, that have experimented with different days. Hasn't really worked then, and unless, again, you're throwing Georgia against Alabama on a random Wednesday, I don't know if the Big 12 is going to be able to work with it either, and that's okay.
That is a valid point. I'm going to think for a couple weeks while I come up with a response. Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12. Appreciate the time, my friend.
Always love you.